As George Orwell said, some ideas are so stupid that only intellectuals would believe them. Rory Stewart is a very intelligent man. He has a very long educational history behind him. He's written books. He's commanded soldiers. And he is one of the biggest fools I have ever come across. I'm Granniopteryx. I'm on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute and Minds. So let's start with a little recap, should we? This is Rory Stewart just before the American presidential elections. Hang on, I'll put the subtitles on so you don't miss what he says.
If I had to bet, I think Kamala Harris will win comfortably.
OK. It was obvious to me that Kamala Harris couldn't possibly win. And I find it astonishing that Rory Stewart actually thought that she could. I mean, I can imagine the Democrats, the Democrat Party workers, believing that Kamala Harris stood some sort of a chance. Because when you're working in an organisation, you have to believe something like that. But he was looking at this from the outside and he still couldn't see what was plainly there right in front of his nose. And here, well, same thing really. Rory Stewart did an interview with the person previously known as Abu Muhammad Al-Julani, but is now known as Ahmed Hussein Al-Sharaa. Here's the man in question. He prefers to be known as Al-Sharaa now, but when he was a jihadi insurgent, he called himself Abu Muhammad Al-Julani, meaning he came from the Golan Heights, actually. All right, let's hear what Rory Stewart has to say when he had a conversation with that gentleman.
It's strange for me sitting with you because we were both in Iraq together in
I want you to pay attention to Al-Sharaa's facial expressions, because all credit to him. I don't know how he kept a straight face. Occasionally a little twitch, which showed exactly what he thought about Mr. Stewart, but basically he managed to keep a poker face throughout.
We were both in Iraq together in 2003, but we were on different sides. I was part of the American-British occupation, and you were fighting for Al-Qaeda against the occupation. And I never imagined I would sit down like this to talk to you in this way.
Oh, look at the smile there. The smile on the face of the crocodile.
What do you reflect over time on this experience and looking back over these years on that?
Now, before we carry on with Al-Sharaa's non-answer, and it was a masterpiece of non-answering, by the way. I have to give the man credit. He may not have the academic qualifications of Mr. Stewart, but he is 3 times more intelligent than Stewart is. It's just astonishing. Now, I want to just go through a couple of things that Stewart says, which I felt like I was being hit by a tidal wave of stupid. No, not a tidal wave, a tsunami of stupid. Let's listen to him.
It's strange for me sitting with you because we were both in Iraq together.
Can you imagine what's going through this man's mind? He's sitting back and going, go on, say something really stupid. I don't care. What an idiot. What a European dimmy idiot. Right, you can almost see it pouring out of his eyes there.
2003, but we were on different sides. I was part of the American-British occupation, and you were fighting for Al-Qaeda.
Now, I don't know, Rory Stewart fooling himself or wishing to fool others. Let's just hear him again. I was part of the
American-British occupation, and you were fighting for Al-Qaeda.
Right, now, this fellow here, born in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, to a Syrian Muslim family. So, he wasn't an Iraqi. He had no connection with Iraq, which, for those of you who aren't familiar with the map, is the country next door to Syria, sort of between Syria and Iran. Now, that meant that he was a foreign fighter on Iraqi soil. In what way is this man less of an occupier than Rory Stewart? And he also hides things from himself and us. He says, I was part of the American-British occupation, and you, at the time Al-Julani, were fighting for Al-Qaeda. Nothing about the Al-Qaeda occupation, an occupation which swept into Iraq and murdered probably thousands of ordinary Iraqi citizens, made slaves of Yazidis, burnt Yazidi girls alive when they refused to convert to Islam. That was the people that this fellow was in charge of. And yet he calls himself part of the occupation. And this guy, he was just fighting for Al-Qaeda. And this fellow is sitting there not bursting into laughter. And quite frankly, I don't know how he managed it. Let's hear the rest of what Rory Stewart had to say.
Against the occupation. And I never imagined I would sit down like this to talk to you in this way. What do you...
Oh, the indulgent smile. Here, no, you've got to see that smile again. Oh, yes. And he's sitting there thinking, what a fool. This fellow is going to be a piece of cake.
In this way. What do you reflect over time on this experience and looking back over these years on
now you will hear, I don't know, maybe a minute, maybe, hang on, how much is left? Yeah, an entire minute of nothing that he's saying. He's doing it brilliantly. I have to give him credit for that. Let's hear.
This question needs a very long answer. It would take about 10 episodes like this one. I'm willing to have that discussion, but given my current position, a brief answer to such a large question would expose Syria to much criticism. I don't want to put Syria in that situation right now. I'm fully prepared to answer all your questions and also add some current position. A brief answer to such a large question.
Before I carry on, you may not be familiar. There's a shot of another man. That's Alistair Campbell. Rory Stewart and Alistair Campbell have a show together called The Rest is Politics. Alistair Campbell was one of the drivers behind sending British troops to Iraq, I might say. He was one of the political advisors who gave Tony Blair the go-ahead on that operation.
Would expose Syria to much criticism. I don't want to put Syria in that situation right now. I'm fully prepared to answer all your questions and also add some points you may not be aware of. But we would need ample time to do justice to this question.
الحال التي يعيشها العالم في هذا الوقت ثم يكون هناك مسارعة في الحلول الصفرية.
Now, look at Rory Stewart's face. He's looking to the side. I'm assuming he's looking at Alistair Campbell. Well, Alistair, did I do all right there? Yeah, are you going to mark my homework very good this time? There was something else. The person who was doing the translation, he had a very nice, mellifluous, sympathetic voice, didn't he? Now, it could have been a rougher voice, but it wasn't. It gave Al-Julani a civilized quality to his answer. Just have another quick listen.
To have that discussion, but given my current position, a brief answer to such a large question would expose Syria to much criticism. I don't want to put Syria in that situation right now. I'm fully prepared to answer all your questions and also add some points you may not be aware of. But we would need ample time to do justice to this question.
الحال التي يعيشها العالم في هذا الوقت ثم يكون هناك.
So I don't know who put the translation in, but I'm assuming that Stewart or Campbell put this in afterwards and they found somebody with a nice and sympathetic voice. Meanwhile, well, I can't show you the sort of things that are going on in Syria now. But while I was checking out this video, I was watching videos of old men being made to crawl across rocks under the guns of the militia run by this fellow with the pleasant voice and the friendly crocodile smile. And Rory Stewart sits there, having done his interview, looks at Alistair Campbell and finds validation in that, I suppose. Didn't he do well? It really upsets me to see a man so intelligent, such a fool. I find that depressing beyond words, really. It's just heartbreaking. Okay, till next time. You can help my channel by subscribing and clicking the notification bell. That's quite important. And by sharing if you're so inclined. Links to my other channels and to donation methods are in the description. But the best way you can help is simply by clicking like and notify. Thank you.